Okay, picture this. You finally find that perfect piece of land, maybe, just outside the city. Perfect for your dream house.
Or maybe a great spot for a new business.
Exactly. And you're excited, right? Thinking about breaking ground, watching it all come together. Sounds pretty straightforward. Just you, the land, local permits.
Seems simple enough.
But here's the twist. That local project. It could actually ripple out and affect something huge, like global air travel.
That sounds surprising. How?
Well, that's what we're going to unpack. We're diving deep into something most folks probably never think about, needing a no objection certificate, an NOC, from the Airports Authority of India, AAI.
Mm-hmm.
And you need this before you can even think about starting construction on certain things.
Right. And our mission today really is to make sense of why this NOC isn't just, red tape. It's actually vital.
Okay.
We want to clarify who exactly needs one, how far out from an airport this applies, and importantly, what happens if you skip it.
And we're using an official AAI guide for this, right?
Yep, directly from AAI's public information. We're aiming to turn these sort of complex rules into something clear for everyone listening.
Good.
And honestly, understanding this isn't just for the big developers. It's really important if you own property, if you're planning any kind of build, or even if you're just, curious about the hidden rules that keep things running safely.
Those invisible layers of safety.
Exactly.
So let's get straight to it. Why? Why do you need the AAI's okay for a building project that might seem totally local? What's the core reason?
Well, the main reason, the absolute core of it, is simple but critical. It's all about making sure your structure, whatever it is, doesn't mess with planes.
Mess with planes how? Like physically blocking them?
That, but also interfering with radar signals or breaking the rules about obstacle limitation surfaces, OLS.
OLS.
Yeah, these are basically internationally agreed upon standards set by the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, the DGCA, defining the safe airspace around airports.
Yeah, so it's about keeping that space clear.
Precisely. And doing this brings several key benefits. Obviously, it keeps flight paths safe. It stops buildings from becoming obstacles during takeoff or landing, which are critical phases.
Makes sense.
And maybe more relevant for the builder or owner, it helps you avoid getting orders to tear down your building later or facing serious legal trouble.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a big one.
Definitely. And it all ties back to complying with the formal civil aviation requirements CAR, Series B, Part 1. That's the rule book.
That really clarifies things. And it makes me think, we're not just talking about the area right next to the runway, are we?
No, not at all.
It's like you said, these invisible highways in the sky. They stretch out much further than you'd think.
That's a great way to put it. And the legal backing for this, if you zoom out, comes from that DGCA CAR Section 4, Series B, Part 1, and also the Aircraft Act from way back in 1934.
Wow, 1934.
Yeah, it's been a consideration for a long time. These laws clearly state that any construction that could affect flight operations needs prior clearance.
And AAI is the one checking.
AAI is the designated authority. They assess the proposal against those OLS criteria and decide whether to issue the NOC.
Okay, so who actually needs to apply? I bet a lot of people think, oh, that's just for huge skyscrapers or factories. Is that right?
That's a really common thought, but no, it's much broader. You need to apply if you're planning to build almost anything tall. Residential buildings, commercial structures, yeah, but also things like chimneys, communication towers, water tanks, even large hoardings or billboards.
Even hoardings?
Yes, or cranes used during construction, transmission lines. Basically any tall installation. It's not just about massive projects. A tall water tank on a farm, maybe a prominent sign if it's in the wrong spot that could need an NOC.
Okay, that widens the net considerably. And what about distance? How close do you need to be?
This is the part that often surprises people. The requirement can extend up to a 56-kilometer radius from the airport's reference point, the ARP.
56 kilometers. Seriously?
Seriously. And that applies to any airport, civil or defense.
Wow. So that's not just the immediate vicinity. That could be real out into the suburbs or even rural areas, depending on where the airport is.
Absolutely. It means someone building, say, a new grain silo quite far from the city might still fall under this rule.
That changes everything. So how does that distance work? Is it the same rule for 5 kilometers away versus 50 kilometers?
No, there's some nuance there. Generally, if your site is within 20 kilometers of the airport ARP, a full, detailed obstacle assessment is definitely required.
Okay.
But even if you're further out, between 20 and 56 kilometers, you might still need an NOC. It depends mainly on how high you plan to build.
Height is key.
Height is key, but so is the site's elevation above mean sea level, its precise location relative to flight paths, and also what kind of airport it is, international, domestic, military. They have different requirements.
It really drives home that this isn't just for the obvious huge projects right by the fence line. It could easily catch everyday constructions much further out. Many more people need to be aware of this than probably are.
That's definitely true.
So, okay, let's say someone listening realizes, uh-oh, this might apply to me. How do they actually go about getting this NOC? Is it a nightmare of forms?
Thankfully, they've tried to make it manageable. The whole process is online now. You have to submit your application through the official AAI ENOC portal.
Okay, online is good. What's the site?
It's https://nocas2.aai.aero. That's NOCAS, N-O-C-A-S, number 2.ai.aero.
Got it. And what information do you need ready when you go to apply?
You need some very specific details. First, the latitude and longitude of your site. And importantly, this has to be in WGS84 format.
WGS84, why so specific?
That's the standard global coordinate system GPS uses. It ensures absolute precision about the location, which is critical for air navigation safety.
Makes sense. What else?
You'll need the full site address, the survey number, the site's elevation. Again, not just ground level, but elevation from mean sea level MSL.
No, that's all right.
Then the total height you propose for the structure, a site drawing, a location map showing where it is relative to the airport, and your identification details like Aladhar, PAN, or GST number.
That level of detail like WGS84 and MSL really shows this is a serious technical assessment, not just ticking a box.
Absolutely. It's all about precise calculations for safety.
So what's the online process like once you have all that info?
It's pretty logical. You register on that portal, create an account, then you fill in the online application form with all those specific details we just talked about.
Okay.
You upload the required documents, the site plan, location map, etc. Then you pay a processing fee online.
Is the fee large?
It varies, but it's generally a processing fee, not usually prohibitive. After submission, your application goes to the AI's obstacle directorate. They do the technical review, the obstacle analysis. And then, based on that analysis, they'll either issue the no objection certificate, or if the structure poses a risk, they might deny it, or perhaps ask for modifications.
How long is the NOC valid for once you get it?
Generally, it's valid for 5 years from the date it's issued. If you don't start construction within those 5 years, you might need to get it revalidated. So you need to keep that timeline in mind.
Okay, 5 years. Good to know. Now, this brings up the really critical question. The what if? What happens if someone just doesn't get the NOC? Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they ignored it. What are the actual consequences?
The consequences can be, well, quite severe. It's not something you want to risk.
Like what? Fines.
It can go way beyond fines. Unauthorized construction can face immediate legal action from AAI or other authorities. They could issue an order demanding you demolish the structure, either entirely or partially.
Demolish it. Wow.
Or they might require you to make significant, potentially expensive modifications to bring it into compliance. From a safety perspective, your building could be officially marked and published as a hazard to air navigation.
That sounds serious.
It is. And practically speaking, the local municipal bodies or planning authorities, knowing you don't have AAI clearance, might refuse to grant you an occupancy certificate or a completion certificate.
Which means?
Which means the building is essentially unusable. You can't legally occupy it, you can't sell it, you can't rent it out. It becomes a massive liability.
Gosh, I can just imagine pouring your savings into a project only to have it halted or ordered torn down.
Exactly.
So boiling it down, for anyone building or developing property near an airport, even miles away, skipping the NOC means risking huge financial losses, serious legal battles, and, inadvertently creating a safety hazard in the sky.
That sums it up pretty well. It's a risk not worth taking.
Okay, so let's quickly recap what we've covered in this deep dive. We've seen why the AAI NOC is so crucial. It's about keeping the skies safe by making sure buildings don't interfere with flights or navigation systems.
Right. And we talked about the types of structures, not just skyscrapers, but potentially chimneys, tanks, even cranes, and that surprising 56-kilometer potential radius.
We also walked through the application process, which is thankfully online via the AAI portal, nocas2.aai.aero, though you need very specific site data.
Like the WGS84 coordinates and MSL elevation.
Exactly. And critically, we looked at the severe consequences of not getting the NOC legal action, demolition orders, being marked as a hazard, and being unable to get local approvals.
It really underscores that understanding and following these rules is vital. It's not just about avoiding trouble. It's about being part